Let's go. Game time.
Everybody, welcome to the Better Baby Daddy podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, John Laxman.
I'm your other co-host, Kelly Burgess.
And today we're going to talk about men becoming the person that their children deserve. So essentially, your kids deserve the man you're still afraid to become.
We all have fears, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, the title's coming from some chests, but the fact that we're all in this situation, there was something we feared. Commitment, self-regulation,
Hard work.
Something got us in a situation where we're not currently in the house with our kids. And so, but your kids deserve the man that has pushed through that and has become a better baby dad.
Absolutely, sir. And I'm just thinking back through my history, my evolution as a man and as a father, and how my kids really did deserve someone better than I gave them at the beginning of this journey. Like they definitely did deserve someone that made better decisions from a financial perspective, from a relationship perspective, from an all-around perspective. I was making decisions that were routinely selfish and based off my wants and my needs at the beginning of this journey.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
So I could just echo that. I tell my current wife, you're lucky you got version Kelly 3.0. Actually, it's really like 7.0 because, like you, there was plenty of times where I was cowardly, irresponsible, unwilling to do the difficult things that needed to be done, ignorant about how difficult they were, right? And so, I think you'll hear through this episode that, and we're coming from a place where we've learned some hard lessons and we fortunately have pushed through those difficult things and those fears to become better men.
Absolutely. And let's start off with this. So the version they see versus the version you pretend to be.
You're talking about your kids, the version your kids see?
Yeah. So we all have different hats that we wear in different arenas, right? Well, I have a hat here while I'm at work. I have a hat while I'm out in public doing different things. We all wear different hats. No matter what hat you have on or whatever hat you're pretending to wear, your children see the real you every single time.
They do. And as they get older, they're able to articulate with tremendous clarity what it is that they see in you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't fool them. You can't fool them, particularly your daughters. You definitely can't fool your daughters. And so they study us. We say almost every episode that more is caught than taught. And that's really true. And so the question for us is, well, what kind of man do we want to be and portray? We're not just faking a funk and playing a role. Like, what do we want to be at our core when nobody's watching? Because your kids are always watching and they're catching up on how you are.
All right. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, which I'm prone to do in these situations. I'm always, you all got to be on your toes. So when we think of that, what are some examples, maybe not pulling directly from your life, where you were portraying or people that were portraying a certain man, but the kid was like, no, that's not the man you actually are. That's not the dad you actually are.
Yeah, I don't know if I have one that's that stark. I was portraying one thing and I was totally opposite, and my kids knew I was totally opposite. I think it's more of, Dad, now you're coming with this energy of be this certain way, but you weren't that certain way, obviously, early on, right? And so that's the tension they wrestle with. It's like, man, you telling some good things, Dad, but you didn't really, lay out a foundation that we can see and emulate. But we appreciate that. That's the thing. And I'm sure if you ask them, it would be interesting to have kids on and say, well, what was your perception of me early on? Like your earliest memory to, maybe your teenage years, and then what's your perception of me now?
Yeah. I tend to think in the realm of social media with that one. So there are people out here that pretend, and mothers do the same thing, but we're man focused here, where we're portraying a certain image on social media in regards to our fatherhood that we don't live.
You got an example? Like what?
Do I have an example? Nobody specifically. None of my friends.
All similarities are coincidental. Change to protect the innocent.
No, I can just think of situations where, a man may be constantly posting, or not maybe constantly, but every so often he's posting, him and his child doing certain things, and they're doing this. And it might only have been 5 minutes of the event that occurs once every 2 years, right? Like those type of, that's a very stark, drastic example there. Are you actually living the life of a positive and powerful father? Or are you just portraying one to your friends and family?
Right. I think that whole, I'm an old head, so I kind of the whole social media thing, I mean, I respect it, but I think it lends itself to that. It lends itself to play acting. And I think about people that are successful in other areas, like, I'm losing the name. So Warren Buffett, he don't need to post about his bags.
No, you sure don't. Stop.
You know what I mean?
That's a post
Like,
right
he's
there.
not posting about his moves. Like,
Just bought 1 million shares in Coca.
right, on the dip. And no disrespect for dudes who do that. It's just that when you reach a certain level, like, your life speaks for itself. You know what I mean? And so I think it's easy to, we're all actors in a way, right? But it's easy with social media to really portray one thing and you're completely different. People don't post the knockdown, drag out fights they have with their BDs. Well, sometimes they do. They don't post when they really blow it with their kids. You don't post when you made promises and then you slip up and can't do something you said you needed to do. You don't post that. So there's this gap that we recognize that exists, and we're trying to close the gap between the reality and what's portrayed.
Absolutely. There's a, so I was reading, I can't remember the book I was reading, but the author talks about the concept of minding the gap. So be mindful of the gap between who you are and who you want to be.
Amen.
So mind that gap. What's the difference? Can we fill that in?
Can you fill it in? Yeah. And I think if you don't, you can delude yourself into thinking something, you're something that you're not. And sometimes that masquerading actually can, it's our second point, right? Can lead to your fear showing up in different ways. Like, when we're generally portraying one thing, but we're really something else, we're fearful, right? And so we're avoiding something difficult that we need to do. And you and I were both talking about, as men, probably our first default when we have something tough we know we need to do that only we can do as a dad, whatever that is, and you know what it is, and you're thinking about it right now. Normally we're like, it's extra work. It's for a good cause. We need the money. So work can be a way to avoid difficult things and masquerade as, hey, I'm just busy. Yeah. But you're really avoiding things.
Yeah, it's that fear masquerading as I'm busy. When you really don't need to be busy in that situation, it's the same concept of when we're working on a project that we really need to get done and we hit this stage that requires an intense dedication to a process that's uncomfortable. And we're like, let me just redo the spreadsheet. Bro, you don't need to redo the spreadsheet. So, yeah. So, and then that same concept applied to fatherhood is exactly what you talked about. You have to have a difficult conversation with your teenage daughter, your teenage son. As a man, you may have to have a difficult conversation with the BM, and you're doing exactly what you just said. Well, I'm gonna pull 2 hours overtime. Sometimes it's just as simple as I just need more time to think. So let me take the long way home. And that long way home leads to, now I'm home and it's too late. I don't want to call her after 8 o'clock. I don't want to call my son after 8 o'clock. I don't want to call my daughter after 8 o'clock. And then, I can just do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow never comes.
Right. We're really sophisticated with our delay tactics.
Man, are we?
And if I can encourage you guys out there that are in a situation where you already got limited time to do what you got to do, at least face to face with your kids, is have a bias towards action in the difficult things. Difficult things don't ever become less difficult because you put them off.
They become more difficult.
Exponentially more difficult. And then you got more difficult things to handle on top of the original difficult thing you were avoiding, right? Yeah. So get used to and comfortable and see yourself as a man who tackles difficult things. I know some of the most successful guys in business, and I know you have a bias toward this, is like, you probably wake up and say, well, what's the most challenging thing I can knock out today? And so after the gym, after your 20 grams of protein and, rehydrating, it's like, okay, what is the thing I'm trying to tackle before whatever, lunchtime or before 11 o'clock? And get in the habit of being that kind of guy, because you are going to be faced with some difficult things to do just simply because of your situation. And don't avoid them by busying yourself. Be busy about tackling the thing. The other thing we talked about before we got going is the other avoidance things is more women, drugs, and alcohol. And we're not going to get into all that, but we got a whole litany of things that can get us off track of what we got to do.
Absolutely. There's many things out there that are, as some people would like to say, the devil puts on our path to deter us. So be very aware of what can deter you. And here's an extremely important aspect of this. When you avoid it once, you tend to avoid it again. And then once you avoided one specific topic twice, now it becomes easier to avoid another topic. And then we build this habit of avoidance up.
That's it.
And once you build that habit of avoidance, it's really tough to break that cycle, because you might not even realize that you're in that cycle, because as you said, humans, men specifically, we're very attuned to being busy and not looking in at ourselves or looking in the mirror and going, oh, I'm busy because of this. We'll justify it to the end of the earth.
Easy to do.
Our justifications are great, and they sound great to everybody. They even sound great to ourselves.
Yeah. You know, you've asked me some stuff, you know, with some other side business things that really convicted me a couple of weeks ago. Like, hey, and it was simple. It was like, hey, bro, how's X, Y, and Z going? I'm like, it's not going right now, and I need to get it going. I was thinking about it as it was coming in today. I said, I'm the founder. I got to get it going. But it's so easy to delay. You know, good workout guys say, I can miss one day at the gym. I never miss 2 days at the gym because then it's a habit. And when you delay the things you have to do, when we were doing the show, when you were doing the notes, I was like, man, this quote that's coming up next just hit me like a ton of bricks. Your kids will feel the consequences of the things you delay. I like to move my mic and sit up a little bit on this one because there's generational things that you're dealing with, your pops probably dealt with, your grandpops probably dealt with, that if you do not deal with them, your children are going to be slaying that dragon or trying to slay that dragon because you didn't deal with it.
Say that again one more time. How's it go?
Which part?
That.
Well, the quote is, your kids will feel the consequences of the things you delay.
Man.
Yeah, they will.
So whatever you're delaying doing, if you're delaying having difficult conversations, the consequences of not having that difficult conversation about sex, alcohol, whatever it may be, the consequences your child is going to directly feel because they're going to engage in something maybe they wouldn't have, or they would have stopped themselves from doing if you had that conversation.
And since we're speaking to an audience of dudes who have already had really consequential things happen, right? We've all are in a situation where we made a mistake. So maybe you won't be the one that breaks the curse because, hey, you've already done the thing. But you can certainly contain the damage by handling it correctly and then being super honest about, hey, if I had to do it again, I would do this. I speak to my boys all the time about one of the main struggles men have is pornography. And I can remember as clear as day the first time I looked at, it was back when, I was an old head because it was magazines.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, you had like literally go to a place, purchase to fellas, we don't engage on that as like the regular diet of how we view women. Like, we don't do that. And we don't do it because, hey, we're trying to set ourselves up to be faithful husbands and good fathers, clear thinking men. So we're not looking at every woman as like a potential. So when we're talking about, and I'm passionate about this, and I'm staying on this point, and we got several other points to go. Definitely run downhill if you do not slay it. And I applaud you guys out there that are out there wrestling with some demons that nobody really knows about, because you're the first one in your line that's saying, the buck's going to stop with me. I might have taken some L's, but I'm going to answer the bell for this next ring. I'm in next round, and I'm going to win this next round. And my sons and daughters are going to win their battles with it because I'm taking care of it now.
That's it right there. It's that generational impact of unresolved issues. Are you able to, as they talked about not being able to stop Michael Jordan, but contain him, right? So you may not be able to completely stop that generational impact, but can you contain it enough to the point where it's not as impactful for the next generation?
Right.
Right? Can we draw back? Can we put up the good fight?
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to throw one on you. Yeah. So, and you have youngins, so it might come out a little different than mine. What does that look like in a conversation with your kids or maybe a potential partner of, hey, I'm limiting the generational damage and setting my kids up for generational success moving forward? This might have been my past, but this is my verbiage now about that issue and how I want to set my kids up for success, better success than me in that area. What does that look like in a conversation in the Lashman household?
Yeah, so for one, I had to realize or come to the realization what was negatively impacting me that was possibly generational. And what I settled on was the inability to communicate emotions effectively. My father was not communicating any emotions.
He was communicating something.
He was.
No I love yous, no attaboys.
Well, it was never, how's your day? What's going on today? And my dad was sporadic in and out.
Right.
That probably played a role. And it was a cultural thing with him as well. So I'm not knocking him. And my mother really wasn't going to dive into that emotional aspect of things as well. She's a hardcore Western PA woman, right?
They tough out there.
Yeah, they tough. So she was going to handle things how she was taught to handle things. Okay. So my goal with my children is to make them aware that I'm always here and I'm always a space where they can come to and communicate whatever that emotion is.
Nice.
So come to me, let's talk. I also teach my children about self-regulation and you're going to work on that self-regulation. I'm not going to be there to hold your hand just because things are tough. And then if I see that they can't self-regulate for whatever reason, then I'll step in and help with the co-regulation. But I'm giving them the tools to self-regulate first.
Right.
And that's where I stepped in and said, all right, generationally, this is going to stop. And we're going to move forward positively here.
Yeah. So we challenge you guys in a moment of reflection. We're all in situations where we can think about how, for us, it's how our dads might have been impacted by our dads and how they impact us. And then what is it that you want to stop in your family? Like settle with that. Like, I don't want this to be the story of the next generation. And you might have to face some tough things in yourself. I love how you say, I had to look at myself and say, I wasn't able to regulate things and communicate emotion correctly. For me, it was, hey, I needed to get this whole area of, my sexual life down because I was just wrecking things because that was not under control and there was other stuff going on too. But what is it for you gentlemen out there? Name it and then come up with a plan to contain it and then defeat it.
There you go. Contain, then defeat. I like that. I like that a lot. A lot of times our generational unresolved issues manifest as insecurities in our own life.
They do.
So those insecurities are going to spill into how you parent. So how you're talking to your children. So if you have insecurities, I'll just use the same example again. If you have insecurities in regards to displaying emotions, positive emotions, negative emotions, whatever they are, in a positive way, that's going to spill into how you parent. Because then you're not going to have those conversations with your children because you're not comfortable sharing certain things emotionally with your children. Yeah. So they're not going to share with you because they're not going to pick up that behavior. Right. They're not going to learn that behavior. So those insecurities really need to be attacked. Really got to dust off the mirror, look at yourself, get the dirt in your eyes and be like, wow.
Right. And sometimes you need a second pair of eyes. That's why we talked about in early episodes of having, some people around you that have a objective opinion about your approach to a thing. And a good friend they'll ask you questions about, hey, John, when you did X, Y, and Z, what were you thinking about in terms of like your approach to that with your daughters? I mean, from the outside, it seemed a little strong.
And I get that. Yeah. I get that a lot.
Do you?
Yeah. But I'm not preparing them for the world. Sure. I mean, I'm preparing them for the world. I'm not preparing the world for them.
Right. That's my point is like, you might not see your insecurities, right? You might not see your blind spots. And so it's good to have people and hopefully, you get partnered with somebody who can bring those out so you can look at them, dust off the mirror and then do something about them. But they will spill into your parenting if they're not addressed.
And that emotional avoidance is going to create silent damage. I mean, I think that's very evident in the example I gave. And if I'm not going to have those emotionally charged conversations with my children, what type of silent damage am I causing? Because now they're not controlling their emotions. They're not learning to control their emotions. They're suppressing those emotions. That's it. So now what happens?
Yeah, it's not healthy. As one who was raised in a household where that was the norm, it comes out in negative ways later. And the most beautiful thing, that little turn is, hey, we talk about difficult things. We can have highly charged emotions and love one another. I can say some really difficult, challenging things or disagree with you and then come and reconcile with you and have a warm, tender time also. It's a superpower as a parent.
Absolutely.
By our very nature, particularly as dads, by our size and what we sound like, it is easy for your children to be intimidated by you. Add that layer of you're not around. They see you 4 days a month and they're getting you undiluted for that 48 hours. It's like, yo, it's just too much. So your ability to say, I'm going to do the difficult thing and I'm going to restore. We're going to have a hard conversation. We're going to bun up on the couch and eat popcorn and watch the movie.
Absolutely.
You got to master that.
And that healing you do for yourself is protecting them long term.
Yes, it is.
So that's a form of protection. Absolutely 100% a form of protection because they're going to carry those same habits on when they become parents with the relationships they have, whether they're romantic or non-romantic relationships, simply a platonic relationship, whatever it is, they're going to carry those habits that you are constantly reinforcing in them from a young age.
No doubt.
And you have to do the work yourself.
Yeah.
You really, before you attack anything from a parenting perspective, you have to look inward and say, where are my insecurities? Where are my weaknesses? And then work on those things nonstop because it is a nonstop battle to overcome these things.
Yes.
There's a concept, once an addict, always an addict. So you're always fighting that battle as a man. Whatever it is, you're going to constantly fight that battle. You're going to have days when you fall off the horse and you got to get back on.
You do.
To this day, there's no perfect days for me.
Hey. And that healing yourself, I don't know how you do it without outside help, right? To me, I mean, there's some cats that can, go on a wilderness adventure and have an epiphany. I'm not that dude. So I needed somebody to cut through my BS, to call the inconsistencies out, and then challenge me, a course of action that's going to get me to where I want to be. And you have to do that work. You made a point of, hey, you can't be a good parent without healing yourself. Sometimes you're doing that work simultaneously, right? You're working on yourself and you're trying to, leveling up as a parent. Hey, you learn something new about yourself and I'm applying it to my parenthood. So it's not like, hey, I get this healing done and then, I bust open the doors to new parenting. It's like we're doing it simultaneously, right? But the point is that take care of it so you attack generational issues early and often.
So you have to take accountability for yourself.
Mhm.
And specifically, you have to value the accountability over the image you're presenting. Because that image, a lot of times, if you're not taking accountability, is a false image, as we talked about in the beginning. And your children are going to see through that false image every single time, whether it's portrayed on social media or in real life. They're going to know who you are.
They are. They're going to call you on it, or they'll talk to one another about it. If you have multiples, they're going to definitely have different views from the bus. And they'll be like, yeah, I ain't see that in Dad. He can talk all he wants. I've had plenty, a couple of my kids just straight up said, I think I talked about my daughter early on.
Yeah.
She's like, you do not have this place in my life because the strength of my message wasn't matched by consistency and strength of the actions. So I appreciate that. Daughter, who you're talking, I'm talking about.
Hey, look, here's the thing, and you alluded to this a little bit earlier, is that, some of us need people to call us out because we can't see it. And there's nobody, unless you're the Dalai Lama maybe, that is completely self-aware.
Right.
We all have these blind spots. And you're gonna merge lanes and you're not gonna see that car. You're like, oh, snap. That's my blind spot right there. So fatherhood is not about perfection.
Consistent pursuit to a standard that almost like you'll never reach because you're constantly presented with new parenting challenges. My oldest is 31, youngest is 21. And there's some challenges with one of the kids in between where I had to go to another dad who has been married for 25, 30 years to the same woman. And so his perspective on parenting helped me kind of modulate my message to one of my kids. I was coming out guns blazing because of something that happened. And he said, hey, Kelly, blah, blah, blah. We want him to hear the message, but also know, hey, I can still laugh and joke with you in this moment.
Okay.
Right? It might not be a laugh joking thing that has occurred, but man, if we both see something funny, we should both be able to laugh at it. You shouldn't be scouring because you're upset about something that transpired with your kid, right? And so that helped me to just take a beat. Still had the feelings, but, that accountability and that feeling of, oh, okay, this dude understands and he can pull my card. It's irreplaceable.
I think you have to be very dynamic as a parent. You have to have this ability to morph into different versions of yourself, and you have to create those different versions.
You do.
I liken it back to coaching. Some players, you got to be on. You got to really be on. Boom, 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 boom. And they feed off of that energy, right? That's what they need. They need tough, in-your-face coaching. And some players can't handle that at all. They'll break down and they'll shut down. You have to attack those players differently.
And you switch it up when you discover what kind of player they are. And that's the sign of a mature man who's willing to go back to the toolbox, say, yeah, that didn't quite work the way I wanted it to work. We're still going to have the same coaching concepts, but I'm not going to make you run 20 gases because you missed your assignment, on the switch off. I might make him run 20 gases because he can take it. I'll pull over, we'll have a Gatorade. I'll say, hey, look, this is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
But it's an art, fellas.
And in my opinion, fatherhood should look like the pursuit of perfection. So we're maximizing the required amount of effort to get towards perfection, but understanding that I'm not going to get there. And that mindset is difficult to conceptualize, difficult to hold in because now I'm working to something I'm never going to achieve. Right. Yes, that's exactly what we're doing as fathers. Yeah. That's exactly what we're doing as men. And that's the battle that you'll fight every day.
It is. And
kids sense effort.
And they appreciate that. When they look back, there's a great scene that's on Instagram from the show Landman with Billy Bob Thornton. And he's in the car, old grizzled guy, and he's talking to his son. And his son is getting ready to marry somebody who has a son. And he says, hey, if you're going to marry this girl and raise her boy, then you need to attack these things that have been in our family.
In our family.
in their family. Generate these generational curses. Because whatever you don't win, he's going to be fighting that battle. Basically, the things we've been saying.
Wow.
And so it's just really kind of tender moment between two kind of tough, like oilmen dudes. And there's this long pause, John, and then the son looks at the dad and says, Dad, I saw you avoided, you were able to tackle those things. And the dad says, I avoided them. And then another long pause, and then the son says, well, Dad, you did all right by me. Meaning that the effort I saw you put in was good for me. And then another long pause, and the dad is driving. He turns away because he's just tearing up. And then, like a lot of times, dudes do anything. You got any cigarettes? We go to Buddy, change the subject, right? But it was such a poignant interaction between the father and the son, talking about a serious matter, and the son recognizing the effort the dad put in.
Right.
It wasn't perfect. Dad's good enough for me. And he tells the dad, I love him. And I get the sense that this dad didn't really hear that a lot.
I didn't say it too much either.
Didn't say it too much, didn't hear too much.
Yeah.
But that 45-minute clip capsulizes what we're talking about, is put the effort in, be authentic. Your children will recognize it. We know it's tough because your time is limited, but that's the mindset is I'm going to present the same man time after time and constantly level up that man. But I'm not going to be different. I mean, this different person from what I'm telling my kids to do.
That is the essence of masculine vulnerability right there. That assertive vulnerability. Like, here's my emotions. They're on the table. We're going to have these conversations, and it's just raw. That's it right there. Yeah. And if you can get to that place as a man, your trajectory, hey, man, you're winning.
Yeah, that is generational curse breaking right there.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised like that. I know a lot of us are in situations because we didn't have a dad who could give it to us straight and not walk it back, but also restore us, right? It's just not in our makeup to do that.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to blast you because I'm mad at you. And, we just let the emotions calm down and then we'll get back to whatever we're going to do. But it wasn't that mindset of, okay, the whole picture is you get the message and I love you. Let's keep moving. So, we're just trying to put in a package that helped us. Hopefully it's hitting home.
I agree. To wrap everything up, our last point of the day is the man you're afraid to become is the man they need. They being your children. The man you are afraid to become is the man your children need you to become. So how do you do that? Well, number one, you're going to become disciplined. There's a great speech. People think discipline, you become this slave because you're going to do this at this time. I can't spend this amount of money. I got to go to the gym at this time. I'm praying at this time, whatever it may be. I'm reading my books. I'm doing all these different things. You're like, discipline, you have so much structure, you don't have any freedom. It's the exact opposite, because when we're disciplined, we are no longer a slave to the whims of the wind blowing randomly. I'm no longer a slave to my emotions. I'm no longer a slave to Friday nights where I don't even know what's going on. I'm no longer a slave to these chaotic mornings. I'm no longer a slave to wants that I don't need.
Right. You might want it, but you don't need it. Right.
So become disciplined. You become controlled emotionally, you become regulated emotionally. And on top of that, you need to become secure financially.
Yeah.
That's an ongoing battle for me, man.
It's an ongoing battle for me.
Yeah.
But the point is, I like the talking point there is that what you feel, that tension about attacking that thing that you're avoiding or you're fearful of, that's the exact area your children need. Yeah. Like when you're sitting with yourself and it's like, I should do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do this. That thing you should do, that's the tool your kids need. And that's that feeling of God trying to equip you with what your kids need. So you can pussyfoot around it or put it off, or you can say, let me lean into it today, even in a small way. But you all know what it is. We all got that thing. So lean into it.
Yeah. You most likely, like you just said, know your biggest weakness, whether it's spending money, whether it's being undisciplined emotionally, whether it's being chaotic emotionally, whatever it is, you probably know your biggest weakness and you're just avoiding the work. You're uncomfortable with approaching the work site even. Right. That's the big problem right there.
And that's when you busy yourself and there's all kinds of other noble things that you can do. We'll put you on the spot for a second and you can do the same thing with me. Yeah. What would you say your biggest weakness is, that the area, I don't think you fear it, but what's the thing you're like,
My biggest weakness?
Yeah.
Oof. Let me go through this. And it's not that I'm not aware of the weaknesses I do have. I'm just trying to, if I could rank order them. I was actually journaling about it this morning, so it's perfect timing. It's just finances. I am very whimsical when it comes to spending
Are
money.
you really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just not, like, I really have to rein that in. Like, I'm not at the point in my life where I'm like, oh, how am I going to pay this? How am I going to pay? My bills get paid, number one.
Yeah.
But then I look at my bank account, and I'll be going over stuff like, why'd you spend $75 on lunches this week?
Yeah.
Like, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
You know, that's just not necessary. Or why did you spend money on this and this and this and this?
Yeah.
So my biggest weakness is just being careless with money, in a sense.
I would have guessed that.
Yeah. I got to rein that in. I've started that process of learning to contain that.
Right.
But I didn't realize how long that process was going to take, because when you spend a lifetime building up certain habits, it takes a while to really start containing that. Yeah. And this is generational as well. Right. So that containment field that I'm building, I realized had to be a lot larger.
You had to go out and flank.
And a lot tighter as well.
It is.
So, like, there's certain things I've reined in and I've done a great job on.
Right.
And there's other things where, like those lunches, the week before that, I was looking at it, and I spent over $100 just getting snacks for lunch and drinks for lunch. And what am I doing?
But is that, not to get too far afield on that, but is that a Costco hit? Because you can drop $100, $150 at Costco on snacks.
No.
It's not. It's just like
going to the grocery store in the morning on the way to work, and then going to 7-Eleven again during the day.
I got you.
So, like, what am I doing?
I got you. It's so easy to do.
Like, I've done really good in terms of, like, purchasing, like, clothes and stuff and shoes for myself.
Right.
Like, I'm not doing that stuff anymore.
Right.
That's controlled. That's contained. That part of it's contained. Like, you know, but there's some other aspects that I really have to control.
No, I
control.
appreciate your honesty on that, man. I'm saying that'd be my number two. In general, my thing is I'm a great starter. I'm a great starter at relationships. I'm a great starter at ideas at work. I'm a great starter. It is putting that final nail in the thing. Finishing that hardest 10%. The 10% of the finish is the hardest part. And it's becoming just in rapture with getting things done. That's the trickiest thing for me.
Do you find yourself saying, well, that's good enough for now? That's good enough. At least I can.
I find myself saying, I'll get back to it later. That's what I find myself. Because there's some other shiny thing, some other little rabbit hole. And just the feeling of, I've got to get to the point where finishing at 80% is good enough because it's finished. But then I'm working on, hey, we're going to finish at 90% next time. And then we're going to finish at the idea of 100%. But the finishing is the thing first.
Hey, we're finishing this podcast.
We are. And we finished a lot of episodes. Thanks to you. Appreciate you.
The thing you said right there is so poignant in regards to our next point. And that point is kids are going to inherit our habits along with our DNA. So they might get your eyes, they might get your hair, they might get your cheekbones, they might get your nose, but they're also going to get your habits. And those habits of avoiding difficult tasks, those habits of not finishing, of irresponsible financial wherewithals, they're going to grab all those things.
They are. And even to a greater degree than you, right?
Yeah.
So I make that joke all the time. Like, I'm not a big drinker, I'm not like, boo-hish, you're a drinker, right? But I'm not, I'm a social drinker. But I'm cognizant of I have more than one beer because I know my kids will be like, I'm gonna have a beer, 5 shots, because Dad had a beer, or I'm gonna have a beer and a shot, not 5 shots, but I'm a beer and a shot, right? Or I'm gonna do 3 shots if Dad doesn't want a shot. So I'm like, the stuff that I do, they're going to do in spades. And what do I want them to do? What's the template I want to lay down? And, that last point you put up there is like, hey, this whole podcast we summed up in identify the tough things you got to do and don't avoid bringing the positive into your life. When we avoid the tough things, we're basically saying, you know what? Positive, compound effect things that we want to have in our life, we'll just go ahead and put that off for several months or years or never have it by avoiding the difficult thing right now.
So stop avoiding the uncomfortable, difficult things that are positive or they're going to build positivity into your life and get to work right now.
Let's go.
Hey, let's get to work. Become the man that your children deserve from you.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That's great, man.
I like
good ground. So get to it, guys. You know where to reach us.
Yes, sir.
Until next time, this is Kelly.
And I'm John.
Peace.